Welcome to World News by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you value clear, calm, and fact-based reporting on complex geopolitical and security issues, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your perspective. Today we look at a detailed assessment of recent U.S. military actions targeting vessels in the Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean, carried out in the context of counter-narcotics efforts and broader regional strategy. In recent months, the United States has increased the use of precision strikes against boats suspected of transporting illicit drugs in international waters near Central and South America, including parts of the Caribbean and Pacific. These operations are part of a broader campaign aimed at disrupting the networks that traffic narcotics toward the United States and other markets. U.S. authorities argue that the rapid interception and destruction of vessels suspected of carrying large quantities of illegal drugs, often operating far from shore, can reduce the flow of substances that fuel addiction, violent crime, and social instability. The operations typically involve intelligence gathering, surveillance flights, naval coordination, and precision weaponry. Surveillance platforms track vessels identified through intelligence sharing with partner nations and law enforcement agencies. Once confirmed as high-value targets, often based on patterns of movement or links to known trafficking networks, naval or air assets are authorized to strike. Officials emphasize that these actions are focused on disrupting the logistics of trafficking, not on engaging with civilian migration. They argue that by dismantling maritime routes used by criminal organizations, they can reduce the reach and revenue of cartels that also exploit vulnerable populations and irregular migration channels. However, critics raise concerns. Precision strikes in open water can carry risks to non-combatants and may have unintended consequences for crews who are not aware of the legal context or who are misidentified. Human rights observers have called for transparency, oversight, and clear rules of engagement to minimize harm to innocent mariners who may be caught in the crossfire. These operations also intersect with broader strategic and diplomatic initiatives. The United States works with governments in the Caribbean, Central America, Colombia, and the wider Pacific region to build capacity and share intelligence. Some regional partners support efforts to choke off supply routes, while others emphasize the need for economic programs that address underlying conditions driving illicit enterprise. The use of strikes against suspected trafficking vessels has implications that extend beyond immediate interdiction. First, regional security cooperation. U.S. forces engage with partner navies and coast guards through intelligence sharing and joint patrols. This cooperation reflects long-standing efforts to build networks capable of countering organized crime on the seas. For many partner nations, enhanced maritime capability is seen as critical to asserting sovereignty over territorial waters and deterring illegal activity. Second, the impact on trafficking networks. Precision strikes can disrupt routes and impose costs on criminal organizations. When vessels are destroyed or intercepted, networks lose product, revenue, and logistical capacity. In theory, this raises the operational risk for traffickers and can force them to alter tactics, potentially reducing volume of movement or shifting to less direct routes. At the same time, analysts caution that maritime interdiction is only one piece of a larger challenge. Land routes, air transport, and complex financial systems also support the flow of narcotics, meaning that addressing trafficking requires comprehensive policy and enforcement across domains. Third, connections with migration. Drug trafficking and irregular migration often intersect. Economic insecurity, violence, and weak governance in some regions can drive both increased trafficking and emigration as individuals seek opportunity or safety elsewhere. When enforcement focuses on interdiction without addressing underlying economic drivers, critics argue that the root causes of both illegal transport and migration may remain unaddressed. Fourth, diplomatic sensitivity. Conducting strikes in or near waters claimed by other nations requires careful navigation of international law. Even when operations occur in international waters, nearby coastal states express interests in protecting maritime commerce, human life, and national jurisdiction. The United States thus balances enforcement action with ongoing dialogue about legal frameworks and mutual respect for sovereignty. The public messaging surrounding these operations emphasizes law enforcement and service to public safety. Officials portray interdiction as a necessary action in a continuing struggle against transnational crime that affects communities across the Western Hemisphere. But observers on the ground, including civil society groups and maritime experts, stress the importance of oversight and transparency, especially when military force enters domains traditionally policed by civilian law enforcement. As these operations continue, their long-term effect will be measured not only by numbers of interdicted shipments, but by how effectively regional partners collaborate, how criminal networks adapt, and whether comprehensive solutions emerge that combine enforcement with socio-economic development. Thank you for watching this analysis on World News by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you found this explanation informative and clear, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your perspective. Independent reporting helps us understand how security, policy, and human realities intertwine. Stay informed, and see you in the next update.